I have a new video for you guys because it looks like James Franco is no longer in trouble. I guess he's just rich enough to pay his way out of jail because he was able to pull out millions for this case. After taking advantage of multiple women, I don't know how anyone could call this justice served. So let's go ahead and get into it. So James Edward Franco is an American actor. He's a filmmaker, a painter, and a writer. He's actually been really successful in Hollywood. He's gotten so many awards, and he's used his position of power to take advantage of women. We've actually talked about James Franco on my channel before and his relationship with Seth Rogen, so definitely go check that out. But like I said earlier, James is an actor. He's 43 years old and he's found himself in a bunch of trouble. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on new details that have come out against James Franco, and we're going to talk about his recent court hearing. He was actually just at court on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. at the Spring Street Courthouse in downtown LA. At this hearing, it turns out that James Franco actually settled with a bunch of these victims for $2.2 million. Something I found very interesting that we did not talk about in my past video was that there are also two other men involved. I don't know like who they are they related to his film school, Studio 4 Film School, but James Franco is obviously the most powerful person in this situation, but I'm still interested, who are these two other guys? Unfortunately, this type of behavior isn't new to James, and he has been up to no good since 2014 when he was first called out. We'll talk about this situation a little bit later on in the video, but pretty much James Franco is trying to hook up with a 17-year-old, which is no good. He also knew that she was 17, so that makes it so much worse. Also, in January 2018, he was called out by 5 women in an LA Times article. So this has been going on for years, and people talk about the power dynamic when they speak about James because he is an incredibly powerful person in Hollywood, and there's really nobody who could go against him. If it wasn't for the Me Too movement, we would have no idea how many creeps are out here in Hollywood. But the worst part of it all is that these people can still get out of these sticky situations by using their money. I don't want to go into too much detail because we've talked about this before on my channel, but a bunch of his former film students are getting together to sue him, and pretty much 2 of them, Tony and Sarah, have really stepped forward to share what they have gone through. Actually, one of them shared a story about one time where there was an intimate scene between James and one of them, and when you do those type of things on camera, you're not actually like doing it on camera. There are little like guard things or little plastic pieces that cover like your private, so you're not actually like doing things. But actually, when James was going in on her, he decided to go and remove her little plastic guard and just kind of like do it, which is obviously so disgusting and violating, especially in a workplace with someone who is so much more powerful than you. So these 2 women, Sarah and Tony, actually filed in 2019, and the allegations include fraud, him getting physical with them, some discrimination, some civil rights violations. So there's a whole bunch to unpack here. I think the most disturbing part about James Franco and his film school, Studio 4, is that this was kind of like his tool to violate these people. He would get actors and actresses to come to his film school by promising them that he's going to leverage his platform in Hollywood to get them into big movies and that he's going to be creating these big films and things like that. But a lot of these actors and actresses never got those opportunities, even though they were promised from the jump. Rather, they were violated by this man while being at school and being taught by a teacher. The school was only around for 3 years. It opened in 2014 and closed in 2017, part because of these allegations against him. And actually, there's a teacher from the school who has accused James Franco of underpaying him $5,000. So he's also looking for his money there. So the whole school was probably a horrible idea for James, but he just thought it was going to be like his haven to go and just, do whatever he wants to people, which is so gross. So $2.2 million is a ton of money. I can't even imagine that, but I'm sure it was pretty easy for James to throw away because he obviously doesn't want to go to jail. And that's what's so upsetting, that the rich can always just pay their way out, because I mean, at some point someone would be like, oh, well, if you're going to give me like, $500,000, I can't say no to that because that will like benefit my family and things like that. I don't know, it's so complicated. But the money is being split up amongst all of the students. Actually, we've got Sarah, who's getting about $670,000. It looks like Tony's getting $223,000, and about $894,000 will go and be split against all of the other people. It looks like there's going to be lawyer fees also included in this, but it's all part of his plan, because actually at the end of this article, you'll see that they talk about 2 actors who have agreed to drop their lawsuits against James for this money. It is so much that James is paying for that actually there may be unclaimed money. And this article, another article, because I'm referring to about 2 or 3 articles, there really aren't a lot talking about James right now, but they claim that the unclaimed money will be donated to the National Women's Law Center, which great, I guess. I mean, I love that they're donating to that one. I don't understand why that one. I feel like there could be another organization maybe for like actors and actresses who are like violated by people like James, but whatever, at least it's going to a charity and not back to James. So because all of these students are kind of being grouped into one lawsuit, they all kind of need to agree to like a statement at the end on, how they feel about this, and that, going forward, they're not going to try to continue to sue James. So at some point, there's going to be a joint stipulation of settlement that will be filed in the court. But actually, it looks like they've came to this decision for some time now. Actually, it looks like in February 2021 is when Franco's team and the actresses and the ex-students all reached their deal. So it's been a few months since we actually heard about this news. I'm guessing just because they had this recent court hearing, it all became public. But part of this settlement, all of the parties must agree to a statement. And here's the statement. While defendants continue to deny the allegations in the complaint, they acknowledge that the plaintiffs have raised important issues, and all parties strongly believe that now is a critical time to focus on addressing the mistreatment of women in Hollywood. All agree on the need to make sure that no one in the entertainment industry, regardless of race, religion, disability, ethnicity, background, gender, faces discrimination or any type of prejudice in the workplace, which is great. And it actually shows that maybe James is acknowledging what he's done wrong, even though he denies everything. It's kind of annoying because he's like denying all of these allegations, but he's also like paying them all off to shut up. And in their statement, they agree to disagree, but also acknowledge that women in Hollywood need to be treated better. Okay, that's kind of a roundabout way to say that you're probably guilty. I don't quite understand what this means, but I read that James Franco also agreed to a non-economic terms for the individual plaintiffs, which we don't really know the specifics of that. It looks like James's production company is part of this situation. So by non-economic, I don't know, maybe they're getting some other like reimbursements or being paid off in ways that aren't money. Maybe they'll all get the movie they were promised in the beginning. I have no idea, but it is such a rabbit hole. Before we end off this video, let's talk a little bit about James Franco's past, because I have a feeling like that behavior just repeats itself, and I'm kind of worried that I know he probably learned his lesson, because $2.2 million is a lot of money. I don't know how much the 2 other guys in the lawsuit or whatever paid up, but he's got a past of doing these type of things, and it seems like he's just so careless. Like in 2014, earlier we were talking about how he was trying to hook up with a 17-year-old. He actually admitted to arranging a hotel hookup, and he knew that she was 17 years old. He was doing it all over Instagram, which at that point, he probably did not understand how social media works. And he did acknowledge that he did this. He said he's embarrassed. He confessed that he, just didn't know that this was going to go down, and that someone could just go and share it for the world to see, which he probably should have been talked through that by some type of management or something. We also know that his fellow colleagues in Hollywood do not appreciate his behavior. Actress Ali Sheedy actually went to Twitter on the night of the Golden Globes when James Franco was all speaking and said that she left, film and TV business because of people like James. She actually ended up deleting her tweets back then, and later on, James went on to The Breakfast Club and said that everything that was said on Twitter was not accurate, which again seems like it's pretty accurate to me. It's like, why are we just like agreeing to disagree on your behavior? If you took the plastic part off of that woman's like cookie and went in on it without her consent, there's no denying that. There's no, oh, we can just agree to disagree. Like, no, that is so violating. And that's why people like Seth Rogen has separated themselves from James Franco, because they were longtime collaborators and friends. But you know what? Seth does not appreciate how he's treated women. And he said, quote, "What I can say is that I despise, people harming other people, and I would never cover or conceal the actions of someone doing it or knowingly put someone in a situation where they were around someone like that." So he's not going to be working with someone like James if he's going to make his staff feel uncomfortable. There's actually been another actress who has recently come forward against James and what she went through with him. They worked together on Freaks and Geeks, which was a production, and back in 2018 in her memoir, she shared that the actor James Franco physically harmed her on set. She later went to address the crack in the relationship between James and Seth and said, "I can't speculate on their friendship, but I wouldn't want to work with someone who has multiple allegations of this type of behavior." So Busy Phillips is 100% right. And I'm also a little interested into how did he physically harm her? Back at that production. I mean, I just don't know how he gets away with so much. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. So many of you guys asked me to talk about this situation because it's really going under the radar, and I just think it's odd that he can pay them all off and then just move on with his career. So if you guys want to reach out to me, again, my email is right over here, and I will see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.